I want to start by apologizing for the sickly delivery that you're about to hear. I've been in bed for 2 days and I just got up to come and do this presentation for you. So apologies for the sniffing and coughing, etc. So today I would like to talk about how I use Cmap in my course as a tool for online collaborative learning. And I want to start with the credits that go to CITE, particularly to Pratima and Mazlan. Mazlan couldn't be here today. They were really instrumental in helping me move from an idea to having a tool that I can actually use and implement in my course. And I encourage everybody to contact them and work with them. They're really, really good. And they're really, really helpful. And they come to your office. They come to your office. You don't have to go to them. Also, I would like to acknowledge the importance of these sharing sessions. I attended several of them during this past year, and they were really inspirational, and I'm not exaggerating. I think seeing how other colleagues are actually trying to implement IT and really work with it, I think it made me think about how I could use IT more purposefully than I had done in the past. Okay, so first things first, what is a concept map? How many of you have used concept maps or dealt with them or just at a cursory level? Yes, a few of you, okay. Concept maps typically, as the name suggests, consist of concepts, which on this map you can see the colored boxes are the concepts. This map was actually created using Cmap. This is a map that was submitted by one of the student groups in the class. So they consist of concepts, and very importantly, they also have relationship labels. Okay, so a concept map would not be a concept map without having concepts, but also having some kind of labels that express and describe the relationships that obtain or that characterize the relationship of the two concepts. Okay, so importantly, that's the difference between a concept map and a mind map, right? Mind maps are typically just the concepts and labels, and a concept map. In a concept map, you will always have a relationship label. So why did I decide to use Cmap? I used Cmap in a postgraduate course in Discourse Studies. And in this course, we have a lot of theoretical concepts that we encounter in the readings throughout the semester. And in class, we discuss the concepts, and also we through various activities and data-driven assignments, in-class assignments, we kind of deal with the concepts. What we do not have time for in class is develop a clear understanding of how all these different concepts that we cover throughout the semester are related. Okay, so there's no time for that in class. So that was one motivation that was kind of missing from the course that I wanted students to have. The other motivation was, it is my belief that for especially a postgraduate course, assessment needs to involve some sort of synthesis. Okay, students should be required to synthesize the material, not simply just regurgitate what we have discussed throughout the semester. So that was the second component of why I was leaning towards Cmap, is to include some form of assessment where students would have to synthesize. The third one was the need for talking through, by which I mean, in my personal experience, it's much easier to deal with theoretical concept, with theory in general, when you get together with a few of your colleagues and you talk through them. What's your understanding of this? This is definitely what worked for me in graduate school, and I think it works for a lot of us, this kind of learning through negotiation, through interaction. So that was another component, what I was looking for in as I was thinking through using something. And the fourth one, as you know, a lot of our students are evening students, so they cannot meet face-to-face, right? So the need for talking through, that was the collaborative aspect, okay? So I wanted something that was collaborative because of the nature of the theoretical nature of the course. And then the online aspect of the tool was very appealing because, as I just said, a lot of students don't have time to meet face-to-face or outside of class. So I needed something where they could do everything online, or most everything online. Okay, so I got together with Pratima and Mazlan, and we were tossing ideas back and forth and seeing what software would suit my needs. And I think this is a good way to do it. Is you identify a need, a real learning need and pedagogical need, and then you choose the right software, the right instructional technology. Okay, so we decided we would use Cmap, and we'll get to Cmap in a minute. So what was the assignment? How did I create the assignment? Well, the assignment for this postgraduate course actually had 4 components. The first one was create a concept map using Cmaps. Students had to do this in groups. The second component of the assignment was present your map in the class. The third component was write individual reflections about your experience. And fourth, do a peer evaluation. And I think number 4 is very important anytime you do group work, right? So that we, not one person gets away with doing all the job, doing all the work. And the whole assignment, the Cmap assignment in this course was worth 20% of their final grade. So, it was 1/5 of their grade. So I will talk about each of these now. Okay, so the creating Cmaps, as a class, we generated a list of concepts. Every week, we would do the reading and we would talk about it. And at the end of class, I said, okay, so what are the main concepts that you want to know from this set of readings? And students were just shouting in concepts, and I put them on the whiteboard. And one student kept a record of all the concepts that we thus generated. So we generated about 50 concepts in this way, which gave them a good basis, but they weren't restricted to those 50 concepts in their concept maps. Groups of 2 or 3 students worked together on their concept maps, and they were supposed to do most of the work during e-learning week, but the understanding was that they wouldn't be able to finish all of the Cmap during that, the 3 hour that e-learning is, but they would have to work probably additional hours in completing the Cmap assignment. Each group was, okay, anytime if something is unclear, please jump in. Okay, I don't mind questions. Each group had to focus on 15 concepts, so their maps had to include at least 15 concepts that we covered in class. There was one group, one PhD group, 3 PhD students. I grouped them together for obvious reasons, so that one group is not favored by having a PhD student there. So they had to do 20 concepts. Creating the Cmap itself, which what you saw on the previous slide, was worth 12% of the whole grade of the 20%, okay? And what I told them in the assignment, and I produced a 2-page assignment guideline, okay? So that everything, I wrote down everything so that everything was very clear, I think. So what I told them is that I will judge your Cmap based on the theoretical soundness of the map, okay? Are your relationships that you're proposing on the map, are they sound? Are they justifiable based upon the readings, based upon our understanding of those concepts? So definitely there was an element of, they couldn't just come up with anything. Okay, why don't we, let's just do show the actual software now. So this is a free software. Am I right, Pratima?
Yes, it's free.
Okay. So this event is not sponsored by Cmap or anything like that. So it's a free software. Students had to install it. I actually asked Mazlan to come and do a demonstration in class. So during week 8, he came and showed students how to download Cmap, how to install it on their laptops. I also told students beforehand, bring your laptops, because then maybe you can actually do it as we talk about it. So some of them did that, some of them did not. And Mazlan did a half an hour of presentation, but it's actually a very, very easy, I find it very easy to use, and I think most of you would agree, and I'm not necessarily very tech savvy myself. So, but so you can see this is another map that one of the groups created. And what we did was, this was not here, and we just typed this in, right, Pratima? Yeah. But we just want to show you. So this is the interface when you open it up, and the only thing you need to do is right-click and create a new concept. See new concept? Okay, you give it a name. It doesn't have to be discourse particular, it can be anything. Okay, so you have a concept. Then you propose a relationship. Let's link discourse to politeness. Yeah.
And then you see the arrow here.
Mm-hmm. And it immediately prompts you to identify a label, okay, a relationship label. So my students were complaining about that, but I said that's the point of having a Cmap, right? You always have to describe the relationship between two concepts, okay? Yes, and then you just go along. You can actually, so the arrow pointing that way, you can do double arrows because, especially in this course, that made sense because a lot of the concepts were mutually, they had a mutual relationship, so it wasn't just one way. Some of the students, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but since it's open, said that they found it somewhat limiting that they couldn't write a whole sentence describing the relationship. But you know, that was, I told them that was actually good because I don't want you to write, you know, I want you to be able to condense that relationship into a verb phrase or something like that, okay? You wouldn't have to do a whole sentence, but certainly you cannot write a whole sentence about it. Now you can make the map pretty, okay? You can, see this group just decided to do purple, but actually there's, I think when you create, there's actually editing where you can change the color of the map, of the concept boxes. You can also annotate, and a lot of the students did this for the presentation, okay? So what they did was annotate one concept with examples, okay? So when they would show me the map, it wouldn't show up the box itself. It's like a comment box on a, you know, Word when you do the review. So you'll have a little box here. Can you annotate one? Okay, just anything.
Anything?
Yeah. Great. Okay, and see that's all that will appear. But then when they were presenting, they were able to open it and give me examples if I wanted them to give me examples of the particular concept that they were talking about. You can
see the name of the person.
Right, right. Another thing you can do is, but I don't know if you know how to do that, is create links, right? Hyperlinks to websites. So again, let's say that, you know, this is applicable to a lot of contexts, a lot of classes. You just have to think how you might want to make this happen to you, for you, or make this work for you. But maybe you have a website that you want to use to illustrate one concept or something like that. So you can actually, yeah, add a web address. And I mean, we don't have to do this right now, I guess. But then when you present the map using Cmap, again, you know, you can actually use Cmap to present the map. Then you just click, and then your browser will open up a web page that you want. We did not explore the presentation function. This has a presentation function, Cmap, because I just didn't want to mess with it, and I think my students were not particularly interested in going too far with the technology, so they just said, okay, we'll just use this to present. But actually, in the presentation mode, I played around with it a little bit, and it could actually appear, like you could time it with clicks, and you could just recreate the map as you talked. So it would trace the steps that you were making to create the map, and you can just click and talk and recreate the map. So again, maybe with a more savvy group, you can explore that, or for yourself. I think it's definitely a good thing, and I think it just takes some practice. Okay, what else? There's a discussion. Yes, so the whole thing, of course, was collaborative, right? So students were able to get online at the same time, and by enabling the collaborating function, they could actually work online simultaneously. Somebody would make a change on the map, and hit save, and it would happen. The other party would see the change immediately, and they were able to chat in the meantime about the changes that were being made. Yeah. So we don't have anybody online. You have to kind of make this collaborating. You have to click that button, which requires somebody else to be logged on. So we can't really demonstrate the actual collaborating function of Cmap right now. But that's the whole point of it, right? That's the point of I mean, that was one of the things that I really needed in this, is for it to be collaborative, without students having to write. Yes?
Once you have created the Cmap, where do you put it? Do you put it somewhere online?
It's on the server.
On the server here?
Not here.
Somewhere.
It's the Cmap server.
Oh, okay.
They provide us with the server as well.
Okay.
Because we don't have many take-ups, not many staff exploring this tool. If not, we would like to buy our own server for NIE.
Because of that, students can collaborate online. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
So it's actually, we passworded the maps.
Yes.
So because it's anybody else who has a Cmap on their server can look at others. Not that, I mean, who would care?
Yeah.
But actually the groups wanted them to be passworded. I said, okay, if you want, because they didn't want the other groups to go in and see, and maybe copy some of the things that they were doing. I thought that, we all understood academic honesty and we wouldn't do that, but they actually insisted that, let's go ahead and password each concept map. But that's actually possible. You can do that. So only the group members were able to access their particular Cmaps. Okay, do you have any questions about the...
How is the feedback from the students who use it? For example, when they are trying to do collaborative discussion, student A might have a totally different ideas, and student B might have different ideas as well. So, but they are working on the same map. So,
Right.
How is their feedback? I'm curious.
Do you want me to jump ahead? I mean, I'm going to jump back and forth because I have a slide on feedback. Let me just go back to this. Since you brought up the question. Here's the reflections, right? Yes. So definitely. A big thing for them was, what concepts do we include? Because everybody brought their own interests, their own agenda. I want to include these concepts. I want to include these concepts. So negotiating which concepts to include on the map was difficult. They all, most of them expressed that. Well, maybe let me not jump, okay? Because then I lose my train of thought here. But do you have any other questions about the software?
What about the original versions of the Cmap? You can retain that, or every time it's changed, you just get the new
you would have to save it and then create a new map. But what it allows you to do, there's a function, if you click it, it actually records every move you make. So you can actually, the instructor can look at who did what, and the students also themselves can keep track of who did what. It records, as I just said, everything they make. But some groups, one group said that they actually had 3 different maps. They tried the first one, they didn't like it. They tried the next one, they didn't like it. Rather than just backtracking and forward tracking, they decided to just abandon map 1, abandon map 2, abandon map 3, and then settle with map 4. So I think different groups took different routes. Paul?
Is there a limit to the number of copies they can save on?
I don't think so, no. No, right? No. As long as you just...
There are thousands of concept maps there created by lecturers, educators, and teachers, and it's all on their server. You can take a look.
So this is uploaded directly to the server, but not through the Blackboard.
No, it's not through the Blackboard. It's directly to the Cmap server.
Okay.
So every user need to register as an ID in the server?
No. You just install Cmap and you start using it, everything is saved in your computer.
But you do have
when
to.
you want to create a collaborative Cmap, you create one in their server.
Okay, can you show us the steps of how to create?
No, it's okay. But I think you do have to register. I have to register.
Yes,
Yes,
time you have
yeah,
to register.
yeah.
Then later on, you just show us the steps about the collaboration part.
Okay, how to create a code. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the rest of the presentation is about me implementing it, so it's a boring part. So, you know, they had to do in-class presentations, group presentations. I really felt that it was necessary because, okay, the map is the map, but I wanted to give them a chance to explain some of the relationships, or if I wasn't sure what they meant, just to give them a chance to tell me or tell the class, to clarify some of the concepts and the relationships they were proposing. The presentation was worth 5%, and it basically, I was looking at, does the presentation enhance our understanding of the graphic representation? The individual reflections that you were asking about were the third part of the assignment, and I asked them to reflect on these three things, okay? So creating the Cmap itself, working collaboratively, and then using the software. And this was worth only 3% of the assignment. Obviously, I wasn't looking for compliments, but I really wanted them to reflect, and most everybody got the 3% because they were able to reflect. So let me just say a few things. I think you might be interested in this. So what were the challenges and rewards in creating the map, in doing the concept map? Well, they said that when they got down to writing the maps, all concepts seemed to be related. So they had a difficult time balancing, you know, just wanting to connect every single concept with each other, but then making the map also readable. So that kind of balance was difficult for them. That might be also because of the nature of the class, mind you. So it might be different for like, let's say, science classes where the relationships are much more rigid and much more clear-cut. Here, as you saw, every map was different. There was not one single good map, okay? They proposed different relationships and they all were feasible, okay? The second thing they said was that deciding on a central concept or just how to organize the map was difficult, okay? Because again, it's such an open-ended question, you know, take 15 concepts and tell me about them. The good thing, well, for me at least, I found wonderful was that many students said, well, I had to go back to the readings. And, you know, just to make sure I know what that concept was. That was wonderful. I said that was, if that happened, that was great. And then students also commented on how this was great because they didn't have to write anything, well, except for the reflection, yet, you know, it was a graphic representation, taking something that they read about and being able to just draw a map. Okay, working collaboratively, as I said, agreeing on what to represent was difficult. They said it was great that they had to actually explain and justify the inclusion of a concept or relationship to each other. So this is where what I hoped to achieve was evident, that negotiation. One of the students said, literally every stroke I made on the map, I had to justify to the others. Because they were so, you know, well, we have to make this work. Everybody had to justify and explain, and that kind of metacognitive, you know, narration was certainly taking place. And another thing, the scaffolding was happening, that someone with a better grasp of a concept was able to teach and explain it to the others. That definitely happened in many of the groups. Okay, using the software. The chat function they complained about. They said it was very limited. The box is too small. So in fact, most groups resorted to using some additional communication channel. Some of them used Skype video. They said that word great. If you use Skype, you know how great it is. And they could have it open in one part of the screen and just have work on the Cmap in the other. So that worked. Some of them used MSN, Windows Messenger, or some of them used the phone. You know, these are the things that they just make it happen. And some of them still said, look, we met face-to-face also, because we thought that, okay, this is nice, but we still needed to meet face-to-face. Especially if you look at the second point, which I worded very awkwardly perhaps, but the point here is that the students said that negotiating the whole map was potentially face-threatening. So why did you include that concept? Okay, I don't think that's right. Right? So the online communication forum was not a good forum to negotiate that face threatening, if you know what I mean. So they didn't want to offend each other, but the chat function wasn't sufficient to communicate that look, I'm not offending you, but I don't think that's right. So in fact, they used the phone or face-to-face communication to balance that out, to really be nice to each other and still have a concept map for the deadline. On the other hand, they did point out that the eliminating face-to-face meeting was nice because they all had busy and differing schedules. So that was definitely a benefit also. Just in general, they said it was fun, empowering, or some of them said it was fun, empowering, and made the terminology less daunting, which is something very positive, I think. The fourth component of the assignment was peer evaluation. I felt that was very important because some people just like to not to do their share, right? And I don't know Dr. Jacobson, but Mazlan actually gave me. Do you know him? He's not here anymore, right?
Yes, he's in Australia.
Okay.
He's from LSD, and we had peer evaluation when we did our master's course.
Okay, so that's the form I use. Mazlan gave me this form that I adopted, which is really very simple, but it works. So it's adopted from him, and where the group participation is expressed as a proportion of total group points. Okay, so you take 40 times the number of members in the group. So let's say the group had 3 members, so you have 120 points per group, right? So you ask group members, allocate these points to each group member based upon what you think their share was during the group work. So if you think you did half the work, then you give yourself 60 points. If you think the others did equal amounts, then you give them 30 plus 30. Is that clear? Okay, so you end up with 120, and it expresses the proportion that you think each member did. And within the 40 comes up, or the 40 points is divided into these 4 categories that, and this is a one-pager that I give to them, and it's a little bit more detailed. So it's time devoted to project, quality of effort, quality of result, and overall contributions. So they had to, this is how you add up, this is how it adds up to 40. And actually one of the groups used this because, so there was 2 women and a male, and the 2 women felt that the male did not do his share. So in fact, they which has nothing to do with gender, I'm just saying it happened to be. So both of the women actually gave him, I think, 30, and then they gave each other the rest of the points. Because at first I said, oh, everybody's just going to be nice to each other and give each other, the 40 points. And in fact, no, this worked because it reflected the amount of effort they put in. Okay, so what I will need to rethink for next time. I think that I will have to start the process earlier. Mazlan came during week 8 to do the demo, and I think that was a little late because there were a few tech glitches. I think some people had difficulty registering and they forgot their passwords, etc. So in fact, one student complained that she wished she had had more time to think about all this. So maybe even introduce it during week 3 so that they have more time to figure out what they want to do in their maps. So definitely I will start the implementation much sooner. I don't know. I think I will either need to limit the number of concepts or provide more guidance over the selection of concepts. Because you don't know the content, I'm not going to go into detail about the maps, but actually I was almost a little disappointed about their maps. And bless their hearts, they were so excited in their presentation. They were just absolutely just beaming with we understood all this and we did this and this is our map and look how everything is connected and look how everything is networked. And what I had envisioned was more like a neat and tidy, map with a limited number of relationships. Let's not overcomplicate things. And I think during the presentation, when I raised questions, it was almost like they said, well, no, but this is our map, you know, no, this is right. And I don't think it was because they didn't trust my knowledge. I think it has to do something with, well, I don't know what it has to do with, but I think I need to give them a bit more guidance, perhaps, how to go about doing the concept, that maybe you should select a main concept and then just, you know, keep it simple. Don't try to link up every concept with every single different concept in the map. I mean, we can show you when we go to the software some of the maps that they created. They look really messy to me. I mean, you know, some of them, and I think some of the relationships they were proposing were rather tenuous. Okay, or it didn't cohere. Let me say it that way. So I think I need to do that. Okay, this is all I have to say. Short and sweet. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you specify any guidelines in terms of how they need to do it? Like, do they negotiate among themselves the grades, or they do it privately and then they submit to you?
It was private. Let me pull up the form because I actually had it. I thought maybe some of you might want to see it. How do you make this so that people can see it? Can you see it? Oh wait, the power is not turned on. I don't think I actually specified. I think it was understood that everybody would just do it individually, because again, it could lead to conflict, and you know, this is something you might not want to negotiate. Is well, I don't think you worked enough, you know. So I think most everybody did it privately. Now, some of the pairs, because some groups actually had only 2 people in them, you know, they just said 40-40. I think they were just, you know, assuming, and they were friends, and I mean, they probably did contribute equally, but it's more of an issue, I think, when there's more than 2 people, that some people might slack off.
So it's based on trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you can monitor this. A group of 3 very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of
They could, yeah, they could just, yeah, they could just say, okay, well, even though you didn't work that much, but you know, if they do that, they deserve it. I think, you know, if you think that you're doing your friend a favor by not letting me know that they didn't actually do their share, then that's beyond my, you know, beyond my control. But as I said before, there were a couple of instances where the numbers were not the same.
Did you show them other concept maps before they tried their own as a kind of model? You talked
Show
about
them one?
You talked about a problem they had in centralizing a concept.
Yeah, I didn't. I think that was a thing. I think I should probably create one, just a very basic one.
But something like this would be nice.
I mean, they didn't have a, but see, like even that one that you have, it's
pretty nice
that's
and organized
mm-hmm.
compared to, you know, the Cmaps that students produce.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit difficult to make sense of.
Yeah, I mean, but would you suggest that I make one using the concepts of the course? Because I wasn't going to give them away, you know.
No, I'm not sure of that, because I'm not sure myself, because I think what they presented represents their learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in a sense, it's inviolable. That's
right.
That's them.
Yeah.
You said earlier there isn't one good map.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure.
Okay. What my problem was is that some of the relationships they were proposing, they just weren't theoretically right. You know, that I understand that that's what you think, but that's really not tenable. So during the presentation, I probed them, and I said, well, okay, but then what's the, you know, and they were almost like, well, but, you know, this is how it is. And so on their maps, again, I left it, you know, this was toward the end of the semester, so they didn't really get good feedback on the map. So that's why I think I'm also going to bring it forward, maybe even do a draft, I don't know. But yeah, if you have any other suggestions how to go about this, just to get them to acknowledge that not all relationships work, you know, that some relationships are not right. I don't know. Yeah.
No other questions you want to show any other scene?
Okay, yeah.
Students?
Yeah. You go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to see the, okay, so maybe we can just show quickly each map, just so that you see the range that students, the range of maps that students created. They were different, and then we can show the collaborative function. Is the users, yeah. But did you choose 3? Yeah.
What's the first? Is it Csilla? Is it your course name?
I usually go to the tree view. Just pull it up a little bit. Pull it up so that you can look at the tree.
Oh,
The tree view. And then just click on any of them. So we've seen this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe another group.
Mm-hmm. There were 6 groups altogether. So here's another map. Just use the drop down. You see the 100? See, so like they were crisscrossing, and that's something that I didn't expect. Okay, and I think this is where it comes back to what you were asking, that they wanted to include their own concepts. Okay, so they had to make them work. So everybody brought 5 concepts, let's say, and then they tried to put them together, which the nature of the course, everything is related, in fact, but it's very difficult to put it on a map and make it coherent. So I think that was my problem, that it wasn't thematically coherent. It was like a bunch of concepts that they were trying to pull together, so without a theme.
But your request is they need to put 15 concepts
Yeah.
in one map.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I know. I'm saying I'm not blaming myself as much as them. You know, this is the nature of a pilot. You know, you do what you think is right, and then you figure out what went wrong. So absolutely, that's why I said maybe give them more option as to the number, or I don't know. Did you have a?
I'm also quite curious that as compared to your conventional way of group discussion and use of breadboard, now you are using concept map. Do you think their content knowledge or their understanding of discourse analysis enhanced, or in some way weakened? Like, how will you compare? Now you are using concept map as a platform. Do you think is the effect better, the content knowledge?
You mean if it helps them,
Yes.
helps their content knowledge,
Yeah.
or?
If the understanding of your course, the tech from your course.
I think it's at least as effective as discussion, group discussion, because here they actually have to produce something tangible, a concept map, and they have to present it to the class, which means they will have to display their understanding and to show me that they actually understand it at some level. Whereas in a discussion, it's very easy to just discuss and then just discuss something else, you know, and you know, and then nothing comes out of it sometimes. So I think this is still, I'm still a believer, you know, I think this is great, especially for this course, because it's such a concept-laden course.
because I'm not using the concept map before,
Mm-hmm.
but I use another called My Manager. That one, of course, is commercial, and then you have to. But I found, if I'm not wrong, the My Manager, they actually can put you like different layer. So that means you have a big concept, which is very simple. Then you can click on the button, and then it go into the second layer of the concept, A, something like that. So I'm not sure when they come up with all these kind of a little bit messy concept map, is it because of the limitation of the tools? I'm not sure.
It could be because Mind Manager is more of a mind mapping tool, and what's different between a concept map and a mind map is the critical relationship you've got between the concepts. And I think what's happening here is a kind of mixture. It seems to me that there's a bit of mind mapping going on, a bit of concept mapping going on.
You think the students are mixing it, or they're confused, or?
That's what might be happening, that they're not clear on the distinction between a concept map and a mind map.
Right now, what I'm thinking is that what I need to tell them is to create a theme and just agree on a theme. Okay, so if they want to take classroom discourse as a theme, then the maps would be more coherent. As I said, I think what's happening here is they're bringing in their own 5 concepts and try to make it work. Okay, which will work, but it will, it will end up being like this, that it's crisscross and all across. Whereas I think if I specified and if I asked them, organize your concepts around a theme, such as classroom discourse, then they're limited already. Then, what's relevant to classroom discourse? Or at least there will be a theme that will tie the map together, make it perhaps tidier and more coherent. That's my thinking right now, what I need to tell them. Well, one of the maps actually was, well, let's just move on to, I think, the collaborating function. One group actually created a very neat map. And I don't know which group is it, but. And they said their map was very boring compared to the others because everybody had these giant networks and theirs was just this, not this one, this is another network. But so do you want to show the collaborating?
Okay.
I think.
We just had on vegetables and fruits. Was it vegetables and fruits?
Oh, I think that was Discourse Studies, vegetables and fruits. I think that was just a demo, yeah. But how can we show the collaborating if...
Okay, so when you install Cmap, you have 2 views. One is Cmaps in my computer, one is shared Cmaps. So when you're working on Cmaps, it will actually be saved, all the Cmaps are saved on your computer. Okay? If you want to use their server space, you go to shared Cmap spaces, and they have these public Cmaps. Okay? You can just click on any one of them, any one of the public Cmaps. The loading is a bit slow. Let's see the person. And then you can create a new folder. Right click and create a new folder. And whatever Cmap you have created inside is open for collaboration.
And who can get access to
Okay, once you create a folder, you can right click and set permissions. Okay, so their user ID and password you need to know. So when you install, they will ask you to create an account. Once you have an account, you'll have your user ID. So it's pretty simple. If you all want to try out Cmap, you all can contact us. We can help you all to set up the Cmap. Yes. Are there any questions? If not, let's thank Dr. Csilla for her time. Thank you so much.